There's something that's really important that I talk about before we get into these stories. Because the stories that I'm going to start with, they're going to be told from different cultures. And with this talking about different cultures, I want you to understand that sometimes the words and perspectives said you might not agree with. And that doesn't mean that you're wrong. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong either, though. You have to have what's called understanding. Okay? And understanding comes from realizing that we can look at the same picture and come away with two different things. And when we have that, we have what's called perspective. And so, real fast, give me a break here. This is my first time doing this, y'all. I'm used to being in a regular classroom. I want to teach you guys real quick what perspective is all about. All right? And we're going to think about perspective like a mountain, a big mountain. So, check this mountain out right here. It's simple. Anyone can do it, all right? A mountain, boom, all right? And water. That's your water, all right? And that's a mountain rising out of the water because that's as they all do. And when I think of the water and things below the water, I think of that as darkness. Water is the equality line of knowledge. And we can equate when people are breaking out of the water as a base level of knowledge, all right? At one point in time, Mr. Tucker was down here. Just a fish in the dark. I can't see what I'm doing, y'all. I'm looking, I'm talking, so forgive my art. I actually draw way, way, way better than this, okay? I was a fish here in the dark, all right? But as I grew, I learned I would end up here and then eventually end up here, okay? And so, with every spot on this mountain, you have perspective. But you have to understand, at the same time that, let me make this mountain look a little better. I hate how this mountain looks. This is going to be my mountain. It's going to be more distinct. We need some plateaus, some hills to demonstrate the kind of mountain a Tucker man like myself would have to crawl and climb to rise to become the man he is today. All right? But yeah, that's better. You see there's slopes on a mountain because as you're learning, you have to rise up and go against these different slopes. All right? But I want you to remember the water. Because if you don't try to get anything, you're going to stay in the water. And have you ever been to the beach or a pool or, water and opened your eyes and looked in the water? It's hard to see, right? It's dark. And I want you to think of that. That's what people are like that choose not to get knowledge. They're dark. You really can't see. They're just reacting. You're not meant to be in the water. That's why animals that can swim in the water, they have the ability to swim and see. And if they don't have vision, they are given other enhanced senses so that they can function in the water. But you don't have those because you're meant to get knowledge and get above and stay out the water. All right? I want to improve my fish too because, Mr. Tucker draw a little bit. And if we're going to be a fish in the water, we was going to be a shark. All right, so let's make Mr. Tucker a shark real quick. Forgive me, y'all. This is a quick drawing. You know what I'm saying? I just, you know what I'm saying? I just needed to be something. So there we go. Mr. Tucker, a shark. But he evolved, all right, and climbed out. So here we are. I would think of this as like maybe breaking out the water is like a high school diploma. That's base knowledge. We all should at least get that, all right? But unfortunately, we know some of us don't. We stay in dark places. Dark waters would be places like, I don't know, jail, high school dropouts, selling, doing illegal activities and not learning. You know what I mean? That's the dark. That's dark. The dark web, places that are just negative. That's the dark. That's all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, is able to flourish in the dark where there's not a lot of knowledge because they can manipulate. But anyway, I want to teach you something important before we get into these stories. All right? See, there's another mountain. There's many, many of the mountains out there. You want to know what these mountains represent? These mountains represent other people's perspectives. All right, because you're not the only one who's striving to be better and who strives for knowledge. And what you have to realize is when you go out in the world and you meet people and you talk to them, they too have a different perspective. They have, they look at things and they see it differently. What informs that? It could be where they come from, what they've learned, what they read, what they've experienced, what their trauma is. Maybe they don't have trauma. All that is going to come into case when someone has a different perspective. So I really wanted to give you guys this caution as we go into these stories. As I'm reading them, this is going to be my first time reading some of these stories too. And I know you're supposed to, read before you read the kids, but I want us to all enjoy this together. And regardless, to be truthful, I don't think there's anything in there you shouldn't hear. But the truth is, sometimes you might hear a perspective that might hurt you a little bit. And I'm going to say hurt you because you're not going to truly understand it. And you might personalize it. All right. People have the right to their perspective. You don't have to take it personal. For example, sometimes when I make content, I used to get so nervous that if I'm saying something, somebody might think I'm being mean or aggressive. And the reality is that's not my heart. You know, my heart is to help people. I want to be a beacon of light. That's what I'm here to do. And the reality is, you know what I've noticed? When I go out and I meet people that don't know me, that's all they ever see. Because that's what I am. And anyone that chooses to hear me and chooses to see something different, that's their perspective. And they're probably in the dark. You know what I'm saying? They're probably in the dark. It's hard to differ what's right or wrong when you're in the dark. You know what I mean? But as you come out of it, you can make a different perspective. Now, I'll be honest, these are some little kid stories, but this is a complicated lesson. This is a lesson that everybody can learn from. It doesn't matter how big and old you are. You all need to understand their different perspectives. And I'm going to challenge you. You need to be comfortable listening to someone with a perspective that's different from yours. There's no reason why you just can't tolerate to hear it. That's not right. And we have to be better, but we have to be better with each other. We have to learn to listen, to understand, not to challenge. Do you understand the difference between listening to understand versus listening to challenge? I'll give you an example. Have you ever heard somebody talking and you don't agree with what they're saying? And the first thing you do when they say something that you believe is wrong, you respond? The reason why is because you weren't listening to understand what they were saying. You were listening to respond with what you think is wrong. And as soon as you heard something wrong, you did just that. But if you were listening to understand them, maybe you can get to the point of the real problem. And I'm not saying that people have the right doing anything wrong, but sometimes if you have to ask yourself, if I really want solutions, if I really want justice, maybe I need to truly understand what caused somebody to do what they did. For example, let's say you were trying to get somebody, they were stealing food, and you're just like, stealing is wrong. And they start to say, like, well, it's, you know what I mean? I ain't stealing, man. I'm just trying to survive. And they're like, that's bullcrap. You are stealing. You're a thief. And you're right in saying that because that is being a thief, correct? But what if instead of just holding them up on being a thief, what if we talk to them and we uncovered that they're starving and they're trying to feed more than themselves? That in itself is a noble effort. It doesn't take away that the stealing was wrong, but perhaps they have to serve the time for the crime. But in reality, we now know that there's a community that needs help, and maybe we bring them resources. Or maybe we do the true right thing is we don't punish this person, but we thank them for bringing awareness and we help everybody out. I mean, depending on the situation, different things can play out. But I'm just giving you an example of how when you listen to somebody and get clarification for the whole picture, sometimes things that may seem crazy aren't that. All right? Now, thank you guys for listening to me. This is just a little precaution about perspectives. I hope you like my little art drawing. I know it's kind of crazy. I promise you I can do much better than this. But hey, most importantly, I want you to understand perspective. Think about where you are on your own mountain. Are you even on your mountaintop yet? Or are you still in the water? And remember, when you go out and engage with people, I want you to think about that as well when you start to respond to them. Are you arguing with somebody that's in the dark, that's still in the water? If their head's not above water, what do I need to argue with them for? They don't understand. They can't possibly see. You want to give knowledge and inform, that's one thing, but there's nothing to prove. All right, guys, let's get into these stories.